I've done it before. We're live.
Oh, welcome to the Church of Mabus radio show. It's Friday night, 7:15 p.m. Central. Moshing with the Apocalypse. You're listening to United Public Radio. And we got Wham here with us tonight.
Hey.
Wham's representing, MC Wham.
Yeah, I'm representing myself without a face.
That's fine. I got April. I got Don Webb coming, and then Stephen Flowers 2 weeks in a row. So you like that probably?
Oh yeah. I noticed you were trying to get Stephen Flowers, so that's good.
I've been trying to get him for a while, and I finally hooked him. Thanks to the publicist. I don't know if he checks his email ever, but finally he did. I swear there's some people I send emails to on Facebook, and they don't ever guess. Like people I've interviewed before, it's like I don't think they ever check it. They're online all the time. It's just weird. It's like, dude, do you ever check your inbox? I just send you a comment. Richard Smoley, I was trying to get him on about Course in Miracles. I don't think he still hasn't checked his inbox. It's just sitting there. But anyway, I'll have to get an email after him. Well, tonight's guest, Mike Feria. Say your last name one good time, Mike, for us.
Yep, my name's Mike Feria. Yep, you got it right. Cool. Congratulations, because so many people don't. A lot of people are like Ferrera, Fiero. I mean, I've heard everything. You can't imagine all the different like one of my good friends when I was in the Air Force. He actually thought for the longest time that my last name was Ferrari. And I just never corrected him because I was like, cool, let him think I'm Ferrari. And one day he looked at my name tag and he was like, oh my God, your name isn't Ferrari. I'm like, I know. So
have you ever have you done radio before or no?
I've done some podcasts and stuff like that before, but I've never been on like a real deal radio station. Cool. Not of this caliber, I would say. But I have done a couple other ones that generally have to do with authorship and writing and stuff like that.
Well, the only rule, don't say the F-bomb or we get in trouble. That's the only rule. And no vapes on cam. That's a hard
I'm getting some feedback in my headphones. It's like all the previous stuff that we were talking about is kind of like playing in my ears now.
Okay. I shut a window and it seemed like it stopped. So maybe that was it. I was at the website looking at your bio. Maybe it was making a noise there. Is it going now?
No, it's still going.
I don't hear anything. Let me shut this Facebook off too.
Yeah, like it's stuff. Right now we're like talking about my last name. So
what? It's like weird. That's strange. You hear that, Joe? I don't know what it is, but he says there's some kind of echo loop or something in his headset.
Hold on, I just turned off my headphones. I'm going to turn them back on and see if maybe that helps. Well, I'm sorry about the stuff, but it's hard to think when it keeps on talking in my head.
It's strange. I don't know. It's not doing it on mine.
No.
Kind of odd. Did it just start doing it? It's really strange. Do you hear anything?
You know what? I know what's going on. I got to get out of here.
It's another mic, isn't it? Yeah, a second mic somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, see, I'm very pleasant and quiet here right now.
Yeah, me too. I don't hear anything. He may have a second mic on in this room.
No, here I figured out what the problem was I had the window open that was to the website.
That's cool.
All right. Well, I got it fixed now.
It's no sweat. Stuff happens, but a lot of times we don't get to fix it. So we got to fix it. That's a plus.
Yeah. Well, it was operator error this time. So sorry.
So it's okay. So tell me a little bit about your military background. You're Navy, right?
Former Air Force.
Air Force.
I was in the Air Force from 2002 until 2006. And I was stationed in Ramstein Air Base in Germany, which is the major hub where everything going to and from the Middle East, Iraq, Afghanistan, and all that stuff, everything was going to there came through us. Everything coming back went through us as well. We shipped out a lot of Humvees, Abram tanks, jet engines, tank tracks, bombs, guns, missiles, and everything. I was an air transporter, so I would get on to, or we would load C-17s, C-5s, C-130s, and all that stuff with cargo going all over the world, basically. And actually, that is one of the places where one of the main sightings that I've seen in my life, well, one of the bigger ones, I would say, happened while I was there on that base, and we witnessed it. It was me and me and about 4 other friends, and we all stood outside, and we were watching it for over an hour. And I don't know if I want to start here first, or if we should start from the beginning.
I got a mini question. That base is named after the band Rammstein. I mean, the band is named after that base. I read there was some kind of accident there that was crazy or something, and they named themselves after that. I've read that somewhere. I think it's true, isn't it?
There is a possibility, but the band Rammstein is actually has 2 M's in the name, and Rammstein Air Base only has 1.
What I heard is there was a big airplane crash, and it hurt the audience really bad. It was crazy, and that's where they named it after. I know I read it somewhere. I didn't pull it out of the ethers, but I'd have to look it up again though to see. But I know there's something weird. I think it's that base. It's just
you're
weird.
probably right. I'll take your word for it.
America, Coca-Cola, Wonder Bra.
Yeah.
I know they kissed a dude on stage and pissed off like Putin over there in Russia or something. Something about kissing a dude on stage and it pissed off Russia. But anyway, well, where do you want to start? Where you want to start with your UFO stuff first?
Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of stuff to say. I would say that I'm a lifelong experiencer, but I didn't actually have my first sighting until I was about 13 years old, and this was when I was still living down in South Florida. When I was about that age, it was about that age where we would still go outside and we would still play outside and stuff, but that time was fleeting, because we were all getting older, kids were moving away and whatnot. But this was down in South Florida, in the city I was living in at the time was called Pembroke Pines, which is a suburb of Miami. It's kind of out near the Everglades. I'm sure you've heard of it since you're from Florida. But we were down there, and me and about 7 of my friends, we were all outside, and we were playing. We were actually having a wrestling match, like a Royal Rumble in the backyard, leg drops, elbow drops, and all that stuff, and having a good old time. And we had a dog pile, and one of my buddies rolled over onto my wrist, and I hurt my wrist. But, it wasn't something to go screaming home about. I just decided that I'd go sit it out for a while and just watch them fight. And I went and I sat down on his condenser unit on the outside of the house, the AC unit outside. And I was just watching them pummel each other. And I looked up and I was like, oh, that's a little weird. But I didn't think anything of it because it was kind of far away. I mean, it was probably about a mile, maybe more than that away. But it was, you didn't have to look straight up. I mean, it was just off in the distance, But you couldn't really make out exactly what it was. But I just assumed it was an airplane or something like that, just going about its merry way. And I looked back down at my friends and watched them continue fighting. And another minute or two went by, and I looked up again, and this metallic object was still sitting in the exact same place that it was in when I looked at it a minute ago. And I was like, okay, well, this is a bit strange because, if it was an airplane, if it was heading away from us, it'd be getting smaller. If it was coming towards us, it would be getting bigger. If it was going left or right, you would be able to see it. So I called to my buddies, I'm like, hey guys, stop fighting for a minute, and they're like, what, man? And they all stood up, and I'm like, what is this thing? That it's been sitting there for a couple of minutes now. And everyone, we were looking at it, and we couldn't figure out what it was, because we didn't see wings, we didn't see a tail, no rudder, didn't see helicopter blades. It was nothing like that. It was just this shiny metallic object that was about, I want to say in our vision, if you like held a BB in your fingers and like put it like as far away from your head as you could see it, like, you could see it, but you couldn't see it that well. But the thing that drew our attention to it was that it wasn't behaving correctly, And I was like, well, maybe it's a balloon, like a metallic party balloon, but even still, you would be able to see it going up, and this thing was just sitting there. And once we all like really stopped and started paying attention to it. Now, we were in my friend's backyard, and his backyard was fenced in with a wooden picket fence. And, there was like only one way in and one way out of the gate. And he had a palm tree that was growing beside his house. Okay. And I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but as we were watching this thing, then it started to move, and it started to move to the right. And it was and it wasn't like going up or down. It was just moving in a completely straight lateral motion like that. And we were like, whoa, what's going on here? And it was getting ready to go behind that palm tree and then behind the roof of his house, So we're like, well, we got to get back out front. Let's go run around the front of the house and go watch this thing some more and see what it does. And it was a very clear day. To the best of my memory, there was like not even a cloud in the sky. It was like one of those clear blue Florida days, sunshine state all day long, And by the time we ran around the side of the house to the front yard where its projected path was going to be, we lightning bolt ran. It was like less than 10 seconds and we were in the front yard, and we all looked up and the thing was gone. It was vanished. And, that was the first time that I ever saw anything that was like, really, really strange. But, what it seemed like was like, it was like one of those discs that everyone talks about, like the ones that people catch pictures of every now and again, even though you can't really tell if they're, faked or, fan art or something like that, because there are a lot of fakes out there. If you type in UFO into Google, 9 out of 10 of them are junk. It's like
a lot of crap.
Mm-hmm.
There's some good things.
Real quick, I've seen some stuff that I'm like, oh, I've seen that. Yeah, that's legit.
One thing I want to say just off the cuff, and then we'll get back to UFOs. I found on Wikipedia about Rammstein. It says, after the band became popular, the band members denied the connection to the airshow disaster and said that their name was inspired by the giant doorstop type devices found on old gates called Rammstein. The extra M in the band's name makes it translate literally as ramming stone. So there you have it. Well, I've seen a lot of UFOs over my lifetime, and recently I saw one, and Christina saw it. There was one like a reddish type UFO, and it dropped down over the moon and came down to like normal airspace and just went away. And it was strange because I was watching it. It was like it was over the moon and went over it somehow, like right in front of it. I don't know. It could have been a rocket coming from the moon. I don't know what it was, but it was weird. That's the most frustrating part about it, is figuring out what the hell they are. Are they man-made stuff? Is it little ET? What is it? That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that was your first experience, and that definitely sounds like your classic UFO. But you've had a lot. Did more happen right after that, or did it take a while?
It took a while. That was the first one. That one was the one that kind of like set me off into like learning more or like being more interested in like looking up. But I mean, even since I was a child, like even way before that, I always just figured aliens existed. I'm like, it's impossible that we're alone here. Like, I mean, maybe alone on this planet, but I mean, as far as the entire universe and the galaxy and like the whole cosmos, it just seemed kind of ridiculous to me ever since I was a kid, just seeing all the different alien movies and stuff when I was growing up. I was just like, maybe there's something to this.
Well, the conclusion I've come to, and of course, it's hard to come to a conclusion with any of this, is we're definitely not alone here. There's an interlapping, interdimensional thing here. Call it the we folk, call it fairy, call it aliens, call it whatever, angels and demons. There's something here with us. I've seen enough. There's definitely something here.
I mean, there's definitely something going on that's beyond our comprehension. I mean, the government might know more than what they're letting on. Obviously, they know more than what they're letting on. But, one thing that a lot of people say is that, oh, well, I'm sure it's a government experiment. The government, they have their Area 51 or Wright-Patterson Air Base or whatever, wherever it is. Okay. And, but the thing is like, but then who was flying them in 1650 or whatever? You know what I mean? It's like, it's not like the people back then were just complete morons. I mean, people were seeing these things back then too. I mean, there are cases where I can't remember the exact thing that happened, but it happened, I want to say in like the 1600s or something, where there was like almost like what seemed like an intergalactic space battle somewhere up above our atmosphere, or like the paintings and stuff that people have made where there's like things flying in the sky, like the old paintings and stuff like that. So, I mean, that right there kind of negates the whole, oh, well, it's all government.
There's some book by Jacques Vallée and some dude, but Signs and Wonders or something. But it's all these accounts. That maybe not be the right name, but I know there's one in there of Alexander the Great. Like there's all these crazy ones from like Roman times of seeing big shields and stuff go through the sky.
Yeah, I mean, they're like, oh, it was a glowing fireball, a glowing shield, or something like that, because that was probably like the best analogy that they could make up. But I mean, a lot of people want to discredit the things that happened in the past as though they were just not scientific and they didn't understand anything. But yeah, I mean, these people weren't stupid. They were actually very intelligent, but their understanding of science and stuff was minimal. They didn't have microscopes. They didn't have, some of the things, but what you see is what you see. I mean, a lot of the times when I've actually spoken to people about the things that I've seen, one of the main things that people say is, whoa, man, what were you smoking? What drugs were you taking? It's like, instead of like hearing me and like listening to me, people want to like, it's like automatically like an invitation for people to openly mock you to your face when you're trying to tell them something serious, something that actually happened that you saw. You know what I mean? No, I don't just randomly hallucinate sometimes when I look up into the sky, oh, wow, I'm tripping. No, like I've seen these things and they're real. Whatever is in them, I don't know, because I've never seen a little gray man or a little green man, but I mean, I've seen some stuff.
Have you seen any kind of beings? I mean, UFOs are definitely important. I've seen some weird beings that I'll never forget ever. But
yeah,
you could if you have it. You never know. It happens. But it's been a while for me since I've actually like seen a being of some sort. But I've seen different ones.
There is a possibility, maybe once, but I guess we'll get into that as we move along. But that I always equated it to paranormal, to something paranormal. But the thing is like some of these technologies that I think that these aliens have is something that's completely beyond the what we believe is physically possible. It's like, could they have a technology that allows them to actually walk through a solid object like a wall or something like that? Because I've heard of things like that, like on shows where they're like, yeah, I mean, the thing, like, I mean, I'm not like saying like this is fact or whatever, but there have been accounts where people are like, yeah, they were like abducted from their bed and like just pulled straight from their roof or something like that, through their roof or something.
There's definitely one of my big ones is I've seen beings of light, and one time I saw them as if they had been in my house and they flew into the heavens, and it was like they came out of the house and went through the roof. And that was one of my big experiences, and they were like beings of light. Another weird time, I had a friend who was an atheist who I became roommates with, and he said after he lived with me, he was not an atheist anymore. And it wasn't because I was like always on his case about anything. He just would have dreams of aliens taking me out the window, and he saw UFOs from the balcony. Now, I don't know personally if I've ever been taken out by aliens and all that stuff, but I've had them at such levels to where I wonder if I have, and I'm repressing it, but I don't really know. I don't know. I did do some DMT once and had some strange things where I felt like I may have remembered something like that, but you just don't know. It's hard till I wake up and my cold butt's on a table, and that's the only way I'm going to know. Other than that, they're mind wiping me, buddy. Doing a good job with it for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, if I've been taken, you know, I mean, they did a real good job at keeping me from remembering anything, you know. But like about maybe up until about 5 years ago, even though I thought like, even though I believed or knew or whatever that aliens existed, I still thought that it was still outside of really the realm of possibility that people were actually being taken, you know. But as time went by, I started giving it more thought. And I'm like, maybe there's really something to this. Like, you remember that movie Fire in the Sky? And there was that story about the guy who was taken, and they thought, the police thought that his friends murdered him out in the woods in like Washington. And then he like showed up like in town like 2 weeks later.
Travis Walton, I've interviewed him.
That's right. Yeah, that was his name. I think he was even on the Joe Rogan podcast there.
Yeah, he was on there not too long ago. I even got caught up in some weird drama where one of those lumberjack dudes that was in the car with him was calling my house mad at me because of an article I wrote. And I had to tell Travis about it, and he's always fighting with that particular guy. So it was weird. I felt like I was like in a weird Redneck X-Files episode or something. It's like, this dude's mad, prank calling my house, stalking me.
Oh, that's weird.
I had to tell Travis about it, and he's like, "Oh, tell me if anything else happens." But yeah, I like some of the, you know, when I first started having these experiences, I didn't know much about the subject at all. I'd seen ET and Star Wars or something, but then I started reading a lot of stuff, like Whitley Strieber and any kind of weird book I could find, and learning about it. And that seemed like it just made it worse or something. That's what it seemed like it just made it increase or something. I think sometimes when you watch stuff and read stuff, it maybe can draw it to you on some level. It seems like it to me anyway, from what I've heard.
Yeah. But, you know, sometimes I wonder about like the milk carton kids and stuff. Like when you walk into a Walmart and there's like a whole wall of missing people. And it's like, and I started thinking about it, and I'm like, you know, I wonder if there's a percentage of these people who are missing that like they weren't like human trafficked or any of the other terrible things that we do to each other. Like, what percentage of all the missing people are just ones who were abducted that they never brought back, you know? And you know, I mean, what are they doing? Like, are they eating us? Like, are they? I'd imagine they're not taking us back to their home planet, you know, and letting us live amongst them. You know, I mean, we're really just lab rats, you know, to them. I would imagine
maybe a little bit of everything. Maybe some eating us. Let us go home like Cocoon with them, like Ron Howard's Cocoon. You can leave with them.
Maybe. Yeah, that might be nice. That's a nice one.
Too nice almost. It's full of it probably, but no, you never know. There's some people that claim it, but someone was telling me about Steve Gutenberg recently. I have to tell this story really fast. It's not that long, but Mark Heller said he went to a conference and Steve Gutenberg was there, and he didn't want to get his autograph because Steve was acting really weird and like sectioned himself off from everyone that was wearing gloves, and it wasn't even COVID yet, like just acting really weird. And for some reason, he didn't get his autograph. He just kind of said, "Forget it. This guy's, is acting strange." But I don't know Steve Gutenberg. I can't judge whether this is someone else's weird Steve Gutenberg experience. Something about weeping in an elevator too, or something. I don't know.
The name sounds familiar, but I'm not sure exactly who he is.
Cocoon, like the dude in Cocoon.
Oh yeah. I know who he is now. Okay.
Yeah. He's been into some other stuff, but I don't remember the other stuff. But I watched Cocoon recently. I put an article up recently. Those are really hard to find to watch. You have to pay extra to just buy them. They're not on any streaming. I had to pay like $60 for a double DVD of part 1 and part 2 from eBay. Like that's a collector's item.
Yeah, I remember the article that you shared about that. I was like, yeah, I haven't seen that movie since like 1990, maybe. I don't know, whenever it came out. But it was a big movie back then.
They're good. I mean, they're wholesome. But so what was your tell us about the next UFO stuff that happened? What were some of your other Goldie?
Yeah. Well, the next one was when my family and it was my dad, me, my older brother, my stepmom, and my youngest sister. We were actually heading up to Disney for like a weekend, or maybe a long weekend or something like that. Hit like all the different parks, Disney, MGM, Epcot, all that stuff. And it was at night, and my stepmom was in the back seat taking care of my little sister because she was still in a car seat. And my older brother was in the back seat too, because I don't know. I never actually got a chance to like sit shotgun. Like everyone always called shotgun first. And so like I rarely ever got a chance to sit in the front seat. But my dad was driving. I was in the passenger seat and everyone else was in the back. And we were driving down one of those lonesome highways heading toward Kissimmee, wherever our cabin or our hotel was going to be. And, it was one of those roads where you have trees, like pine trees on both sides of the road, for as far as the eye can see. And I was sitting in the front seat. I had my headphones on. I was listening to a Stained CD. It was like my favorite CD back in like 1997 or whatever year it was. And so I was just rocking out in the front seat. Yeah. Not talking to anybody. And like you could see, like off in the distance, it was far off, but it was obviously up in the sky. Like it was like way up there. These 3 orb lights came on all at once in a diagonal like this, like up in the air, like way high. And I was like, whoa, that's strange, because it was too high to be like an antenna. Like, how they have the radio antennas and stuff like that. And they have like the flashing red lights so that planes don't crash into them and stuff. That was my first inclination. Like I was like, oh, maybe it's like antenna lights or something. But that wasn't that immediately left my mind, because, and this happened pretty fast. Because like they came on like this and all at once, and then they turned off 1, 2, 3, like, and then that was that. And it all happened before I had a chance to like bring it all in, take off my headphones and say, did you see that? Because like he had to have seen it, right? Because like literally all you would have to do is move your eyes. Like you didn't even have to look up. It was like just way high up, but like still like in the distance, and I turned to my dad and I said, Dad, did you see that? I was probably about 14 or 15 at the time. So about a year and a half later. And he's like, see what? And I was like, well, you didn't see that? And he's like, see what? And I was like, I don't know. There's those crazy lights in the sky and they just turned on and then they turned off. And then, and so they were like, oh, and it actually, before I keep on going, About the last one that I was telling you about with the silver UFO, me and my friends, we all went home to talk to our family or to tell our parents about it, like later on in the afternoon. And they all called us crazy. Like, oh, you imaginative kids. You guys play too many video games or, whatever it was. And so like for years while we, knew each other, we always confided in each other about it. Like, hey man, you remember that thing we saw? And then they're like, yeah. I remember it. I'm like, what did your dad say? He said, I'm crazy. I'm like, what did your dad say? He said, I'm crazy. So, but anyway, back to the other story, so I was like, I think I saw a UFO again. And then they were like, oh, there goes Mike again with his UFOs, and they were kind of like mocking me in a way. And especially my older brother, how older brothers are. But then my stepmom was like, well, I saw it. And I'm like, well, I don't believe you did, because if you had seen it, you wouldn't be mocking me right now. You would be like, no, I saw it. Like, you know what I mean? But it happened so fast that, it could have not been a UFO, but it had me pretty convinced that I was seeing something weird.
Blaming video games. Come on. Bro.
Yeah, you play too many video games. You watch too many movies. Those movies make you hallucinate.
Comic books,
right?
Yeah, off my lawn. I played a video game a day, Gauntlet, and I was a wizard and I killed mummies. It was very therapeutic for some reason. I try not to do it too much, but sometimes I just gotta tear one on, buddy. But yeah, just people's reaction to it in the media. Like when you hear scientists say, oh, no one's ever been here to the earth, and they're so dead serious. Even that Neil Donald Tyson, I think, says stuff like that. I like that guy. But
I like him too, yeah.
He's like, oh, no aliens have been here. It's like, how do you know?
Yeah, one thing that I've considered over the years is that, okay, they're like, to the best of our knowledge as humans, from our understanding, we say that nothing can travel faster than the speed of light, right? That's what we say. Yes. And I think that we're wrong about that, because, even if you were an alien, you probably have some lifespan, like whether it's 500 years or 50 years or 20 years or whatever. Nobody has time to travel 20,000 light years to find the first blue planet. You know what I mean? So I feel like they have some other way that's getting them here faster, because it just doesn't make logical sense to have to travel that far, leave everything that you care about, if you care about anything, back at your home planet or whatever, and then come all the way over here and be like, oh, that's cool, and make a day trip about it, and then turn around and go back home. Like, it doesn't.
It wouldn't surprise me if our government's already like building some kind of backup city on some planet somewhere we don't even know.
Maybe. See, that's kind of stuff.
But I mean, I don't know. But there's rumors for sure about it. Breakaway civilizations and all that stuff. Even Dolan and all that talks about that kind of stuff. But and then of course the big one is Nazis are running everything, and they live underground, and they're reptoids.
Yeah. I've heard some weird stuff about Antarctica, like there's like alien bases under the ice sheets,
Yeah.
But I don't know. I can't say. I've never been down there. Don't plan on it.
I don't know is the best thing to say with a lot of this stuff. That's what I use it a lot. But well, I know one thing. If I could make Wham watch a TV show, which I know I couldn't probably do anyway, I'd make her watch Resident Alien, because I think she would laugh her butt off at it. So maybe one day you can watch Resident Alien Wham. I don't know if you've seen it, Mike, but
I have not seen it. Is it on Prime?
It's on Sci-Fi right now. and it's probably going to come to one of those streaming. But that Alan Tudyk's in it, and he's like this gray alien that's there to exterminate humanity, but he becomes a doctor in a small town, and it's really funny. Like, it's a dark comedy. It's got some good tropes in it and stuff, and tongue in cheek. I hope they keep it on. Sci-fi will cut the crap out of something in a minute, so hopefully it keeps going. But it's real good. That guy's a great actor. He's been in a lot of stuff. He was in Doom Patrol, that as a villain. That's really good. That's a good show on HBO Max with a crazy, like, mutant superheroes and stuff. But just a really good actor. He's funny. But Wham, anything you'd like to add?
Well, I mean, I guess we're just listening to Mike tell his stories. I mean, you know, I've seen a few things. I saw most of my stuff when I was younger. You know, I had my first sighting, very close sighting, when I was 6 years old, and it really stuck with me. In the past, I don't know, in the past decade or so, I've had other kinds of experiences, but I haven't really, which I've talked about on the show numerous times, but I haven't really had very many UFO experiences. And I've sort of wondered about that. And I think I mean, one of the things that I can, and this is just what I say for myself, I mean, I have no idea how it's connected, if it's connected, and I'm not suggesting this for anybody else, but for some reason, when I started really working on my spiritual path that I am currently on, those not paranormal experiences generally, but UFO experiences really declined significantly. And it's not that I don't go outside and look up. I do. I mean, I spend probably as much time outside, and maybe more time outside than I used to. I think on some level I experience that stuff in a different way. I don't actually myself personally believe that they're aliens from outer space, because I no longer believe in outer space in the way that that's meant. I come to believe in a more spiritual understanding of what all that is, and what we experience as outer space is or as out there, since we're actually in space. So there's nothing out there. It's what we're in. What we experience as being far away that's an artifact of kind of where we spiritually are. And so, you know, I mean, I know that we feel like we experience getting in cars and driving and getting in planes and flying, and, you know, so we experience things very physically that way. And so for a lot of people, that'll just make no sense at all. And they'll think I'm crazy, and that's fine. They can think I'm crazy. I don't have to prove anything to them. And I don't worry about it a lot. It keeps me from being involved in a lot of the arguments that are present in UFO communities, which I find tedious and boring, and since I have been, you know, doing this kind of research and in these communities for literally almost 60 now, so almost 50 years, what I have found is that the same arguments raging now are basically the same arguments that were raging back in the 60s and 70s. They're just, you know, the details are a little different, but it's basically the same. So, you know, I just am not really interested in that. So, you know, I think I like to listen to people's experiences, though, because it tells me a lot about, you know, kind of where people are and what's important to them, and what they're looking for and how they're seeking and things like that. So that's sort of where I sit with all this. I mean, you know, people who pay attention to me on Facebook and in my blogs, they know that that UFOs are part of what I'm interested in. I'm actually much more interested in the stories that we tell about these things than in to figure out what they are, because I just, you know, I think when it's important for me to know what they are, then I'll find out. And if not, then it doesn't matter that much. So I'm just not going to worry about it. But tell us about your next experience, Mike.
Okay. So after that, fast forward several years, I was probably about 14 then. The next one, I was 18 years old. This was before I went into the Air Force, several months before I went in. And one of my friends, his name is Brandon Masseri. And we were still living down in Florida at the time, or I was still living down in Florida at the time, still in Pembroke Pines. And now, in this particular housing subdivision that we were at, it was called Silver Lakes. And they had these man-dug lakes that were all around, and they would build houses around them, like lakefront property around these man-made lakes that are out near the Everglades, basically mosquito pits, and so I was had my friend Brandon over. Now he didn't see it with me, okay, but it was at nighttime, so it was like completely dark, so it wasn't like twilight or anything. It was like dark, so about 9-10 o'clock at night. And we were inside. I had a computer, and we were like just listening to music and stuff, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go outside and smoke a cigarette. And our house, the house that we lived at, was lakefront property, and we had a pool in the backyard and all that stuff. But I stepped out on the back porch, or on the back patio, and I started smoking a cigarette, and I was just looking out at the lake, okay, and you could see other houses around the lake, where and their lights were on and stuff like that. And I was just looking out there, and all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, I see this string of really bright blue dots that came straight down, and they just like dotted the sky really fast and went straight down. And it didn't make a sound at all. As a matter of fact, all of the UFOs that I've ever seen, or the ones that you're obviously not going to hear one if you're driving. Okay. But all the ones that I've ever seen with my own eyes while I was outside, they never made any noise. And, but one thing I do know is that this thing was close, that it came down close. Now, granted, you can't see way out there because it's pitch black, aside from the houses. But I know that it came down between like somewhere near the middle of the lake. So, and it was like this string of blue dots. It made no sound, came straight down, and then nothing. And I went, Brandon, come outside. There's something going on out here. And he came out, and I was like, dude, I just saw this crazy string of lights just come down straight out of the sky. And it looked like it went down into the damn lake, and he's like, well, how far away was it? I'm like, it's like between you and I and the house across the lake over there. And when we stood out there and we watched, and nothing happened. And he said, man, how come you always see all the cool stuff? I've never seen one. And still to this day, I don't think he has. I don't think he's had an experience where he's seen one, And I'm like, man, I wish I could just give you one of them. I wish I could just give you one of my experiences. I could part with 5 of them and still have plenty to tell, So, but that was the end of it, because we stood out there and we waited to see if like something would like come back out, or, make the lights go back up or whatever. And nothing happened. And, you couldn't see anything out there. So we're just like, all right, well, there's another one. I mean, I never really got like super duper excited about it. Like where like I made it my life goal to like pursue them, but it's helped like shape the way that I think of things, and like how much real estate I give it in my mind, but, and that was another one. So that was when I was 18. And the next one was the one when I was in Germany. Okay. And it was me, my friend Charlie, another friend named Tristan, my friend Charlie's wife, Amy, and another friend named Mike. Okay. Well, anyway, we were all hanging out in our dorm rooms. We were getting ready to start drinking some beers. It was getting late at night. We were going to drink some beers and stuff. Well, my friend Charlie's wife worked at the hotel on base at Ramstein Air Base. And my buddy Charlie, because we were in his dorm room, he gets a phone call from her, and she's like, "Hey, you guys want to come down here to the hotel? We have some guests that are complaining about some lights in the sky." I'm like, complaining? Oh, okay. Well, I don't know what they expect a nurse, or not a nurse, a hotel receptionist to do about some crazy lights in the sky, but let's go. So me, Charlie, Mike, and Tristan, we all shoveled ourselves into the car, and we drove down there, and it was a completely overcast night. Like, you couldn't see anything in the sky because, like, it was just a blanket of like gray white clouds, and it was dark, and the lights that we saw when we got out there, there was about 7 of them. Okay. And they were in the sky. So here's like 5 and 2, like that. And it's kind of messing me up, and they weren't staying like equidistant to each other. They would kind of sometimes move in and move out and, go like this and do stuff, but they were moving very slowly. And at first they were out on the horizon area, like kind of far away. And we were like, whoa, that's pretty weird. And my friend Tristan, he started freaking out. Like, he was like, "Oh my God, dude, do you think they're missiles? Like, they're missiles. Oh my God." And I'm like, if they were missiles, we'd all be dead. We would all be dead now. So you don't worry about it, so like, I was like trying to keep him calm, but he was like running around like his hair was on fire. Like, he was scared, and so like, as it was going on, like, a woman came walking by, and I said, "Hey," and she's like, "Hi." And I'm like, "Have you ever seen a UFO before?" And she's like, "No." And I'm like, "Well, here's your chance." And I pointed to it. And as time was going by, they were moving closer to us. Okay. And they were shining through the clouds. Okay. Super bright lights, but they were like shining through the clouds, but it wasn't like they would hurt your eyes if you looked at them. But like, you could see them moving inside the clouds or above the clouds. And I pointed to this woman, and she looked up and she went, She just went, shrugged her shoulders and went inside. I was like, wow, people don't care.
Pass the butter.
Yeah, pass the butter. But as they started moving closer, okay, my friend Charlie, he used to work in the command center. So he got on the phone with the control tower, and he was like, "Hey, have you guys are you guys seeing anything weird on your radar?" I don't know why my nose is so itchy. He's like, "Are you guys seeing anything on your radar or anything?" And they're like, "No, not seeing anything." And he's like, "Well, we're over here by the hotel on base, and we're seeing all these crazy lights and stuff like that. And we don't really know what they are, and they're moving real slow." And so the control tower guy was like, "Well, there's a lot of construction on base, so it's probably just lights from a crane." And I was like, well, that's illogical, because cranes are not as high as the clouds, and the cranes don't move, that like miles, in a matter of, 20 minutes. So anyway, we started talking to each other, and we just started almost like kind of like forgot that these things were there, because this whole event happened over like the course of an hour. And then like we would look at them again and they'd be closer. And then we'd look at them again and they'd be closer and closer and closer, until eventually they were right over top of us, like right overhead, You know, can't tell you exactly their altitude, but they were right overhead. And so I got sick and tired of looking at it, you know, because my neck was starting to hurt. Okay. And so I just laid down on the sidewalk, put my hands behind my head, and was just looking up. Yeah. You know, I was just like, all right, well, let's see what they do now. And then, you know, and so we were just kind of hanging out, having a little powwow out there, looking at UFO lights. And then, like, within about a 10-second period or something, they just faded out. They faded back into the clouds, and they were gone. And that was the last of it. But my friend, our friend Amy, she said that there was like some kind of, like, I want to say, like, some previous sightings of whatever that was. They call them the Ramstein lights, but I've tried looking that up after, you know, like over the years, like Ramstein lights, and I haven't found anything. So if anyone else out there wants to look up Ramstein lights and wants to find some weird fireballs in the sky,
I know what it was. It was Du Hast flying around out there. I'm kidding. With Rammstein with jetpacks. But I tell you, you bring up some interesting things, because I know some cases that I don't know if you've come across any of these. I'm sure Wham has, but one time we had Air Force dude Robert Salas on the show, and he wrote a whole book about UFOs coming to a base and shutting down the silos, and he's still enlisted. So another friend of mine who's passed, God rest his soul, I think of him sometimes, or more than enough. I know Joe knows him. I don't know if Wham's there. I'm sure she's probably heard of him. Maybe John Vasquez, and he was at Fort Benning, Georgia. And if you look up Fort Benning, Georgia UFO incident with John Vasquez, and I forget who else was involved, there was a crazy situation there where the troops there, I guess it's Army or whatever, went kind of nutty. And they were crying for their mothers, claimed they saw UFOs, claimed they saw some kind of alien. And I used to talk to John, and he would tell me some weird stuff. Like, he was always trying to figure it out. And he thought one time he got pricked at a base by a needle. Some weird thing happened with a needle at a base. And he was trying to get a hold of some sergeant, but he passed away not too long ago. I hope it wasn't related to his searching, but that's a crazy case. And part of me wonders, and I've asked him this, I don't know if this is true or not, but I wonder if they were given LSD. And I think you could still have experiences even on that stuff. I don't think that makes it, you know, not true at all. It can open up your senses, and they may have been messing with God knows what. And I know there's the Rendlesham thing. That's kind of weird at a military base, but those kind of cases interest me, you know, from the X-Files view, because it's either their own government messing with you, or it's really aliens just coming there being ballsy. But there's just so many ways to go. But Robert Salas, look him up sometime. It's Robert Salas. I know he has a book on Amazon, but that whole book's about UFOs shutting down nukes, and dude is still enlisted, so I'm sure he had to get permission for that or something, you would think. But those kind of, I'm sure there's more cases that I don't even realize that exist with weird military stuff.
I've heard of stuff like that too, and I'm pretty sure Ramstein is a nuclear base. You know, so then if they are aliens, then they're not too hot about us having the ability to wipe this planet wipe this planet out, because I mean, for whatever reason, there is a vested interest in Earth. You know, I mean, like, I wouldn't say Earth is completely one of a kind, but I mean, like, there's a lot of dead planets out there where nothing lives on. Maybe microbes and stuff like that, you know. But I mean, they found a thriving ecosystem like 2 miles underneath Antarctic ice in a lake down there or something. Have you heard about that?
I saw something about that, and I know.
Yeah, and there's like it's not like
planetary discoveries that are crazy.
Well, the thing is like, all of my life, we've always been told like that the only way that things can survive without light, without warmth, or anything like that is that things can't survive in such climates. Like, that's why the crabs hang out near hydrothermal vents, you know, and all of that stuff. So it didn't make any sense why there was like this whole thriving ecosystem in this thawed out lake underneath Antarctic ice that no one's ever seen, because there's no light down there. There's no warmth. There's like nothing. I mean, yeah, it's just sea urchins and starfish and like weird stuff like that. But at the same time, if there can be life down there, there can be life in a lot of different places, and probably planets we think are dead planets maybe aren't.
I don't know. There's life out there by now. They're just like not telling us. That's what I think.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
But I mean, I don't know. I've had years and years to think about it all, and I'm still not a whole lot further along than I was back then. But I like to theorize about it. It helps me, like when I'm writing my books and stuff like that. Some of this stuff, it inspires me in a way to continue on and just think of different things.
Tell us a little bit about your books, just so we can get some plugging in there. They're on Amazon, and it's Mike and his last name Feria, and it's under your name, I presume. Of course,
yes,
on Amazon.
Yeah, it's Mike Feria. My debut novel just came out back in October, and it is a psychological, supernatural horror / thriller. So, it's about demonic possession. But it's called Passenger.
Passenger, okay.
And it's basically like I wanted to change it up a little bit. I didn't want it to be like the same old like run of the mill exorcism type where the girl like crawls up the wall and barfs on the priest and her head spins around. Like it's more of like you knew the person for 20 years and they never had any inclination of doing whatever they did, and like they do some kind of atrocious thing that like makes it on the news and everyone's like, oh, I never thought he would ever do that, or and it's just like shocks everybody. But it takes a lot of cool twists and turns. I think I think I have a 4.9 out of 5 stars on Amazon, and I have 22 reviews. So it's been pretty well received. People are liking it a lot. So I'm excited about it. And I have another one that's coming out in October, which is a sci-fi fantasy. So I'm kind of branching out and doing other things as well.
How's that work with sci-fi fantasy? What do you mean by that? I know there's but you're gonna mix up elves and aliens.
No. No humans allowed. No elves allowed. None of that. It's all new. No orcs. None of that. It's completely alien. It's on a completely alien planet, different galaxy, different universe. They don't even know what a human is. And but it's more like an alien world that's in its Middle Ages. So basically like us in the Renaissance or medieval times, where there is still like swords and axes and stuff like that, but there's also magic and things like that as well. So, and necromancy. So yeah, there's a lot of necromancy in there. They're called death dancers.
Have you heard Judas Priest Necromancer? That's a good one. Look it up. They did it.
I will. I'm making little notes as we go.
I was thinking of a song when you said your book too. There's a song by, was it Deftones and Tool? I'm your passenger.
Yeah, dude, I love that song. It was on White Pony.
Do it when you were writing. I would.
Yeah. I actually like listening to like jazz and stuff like that while I'm writing, either jazz or maybe like something from the Elder Scrolls soundtrack or something like that, Elder Scrolls Online soundtrack, because that kind of helps me like get into my zone while I'm writing.
I like Wardruna a lot. They do a lot of Viking Norse. Wardruna, they did the Viking show, all that music. They did Assassin's Creed Valhalla soundtrack and stuff. But I don't know if you've heard of this. Wardruna. They're really good. It's like Berserker, Ragnarok, instrumental, crazy Viking music.
Yeah.
Really good stuff.
My stepson has Valhalla, but I haven't played it yet. So
It was really good. And they actually,
yeah, no, it looks good. I've watched him play it. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But I try to not get too sucked into video games because it takes away from my writing time.
You gotta monitor it. You can't. I'm not one of those people that's on there. Like my nephew, he's on there. I swear. It's like, do you ever not play video games? This is just weird. Like every second he's playing a video game.
I know 13 hours isn't enough. It's like my stepson, like he'd be in there. It's like a Saturday or something. He starts playing video games at like 9 o'clock in the morning. You ask him to walk the dog at 3. And he's like, and like, and it's like, bro, is like the entire day not enough? Like to just, you got to get up and go outside for 5 minutes and walk the dog, and that's too long.
I do it for a few hours once in a while.
Yeah.
Situation, but I like strategy kind of stuff on the computer where like they're just kind of stronghold warlords where you like build Asian crazy civilizations and fight your samurais against each other armies. It's not the kind of shoot up stuff. It's like a strategy RTS, like the good stuff, like Age of Empires and all that, where you're learning as you destroy nations.
Yeah, I mean, I had to like invent all new species, all new physical attributes, sizes. Like, like it was a lot of work, but man, it's so much fun. I never thought I had a thing for writing fantasy, but
cool.
I have a series that's coming up. So my first one will be coming out in October of this year.
Nice. Let me know. I'll check it out for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
The biggest
Passenger is really good. You'll love it, man. I think you will. It's tough.
Check it out for sure.
It'll hurt you though if you're not expecting it. Like it's got some like parts that's like, oh man, that makes me think of weird things, but
one thing
like
I'll definitely check it out. The reviews, that's some good reviews for sure. I have some books on Amazon, but some of them got mutilated.
Yeah, I expected at least one hater by now, at least one star, but everyone's like, dude, wow. I'm like, okay.
Don't say that out loud. He'll get one.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Someone will just do it.
One of those 1 stars. But
please don't do that. Please don't do that. Please.
But one of the things that interests you about the UFO subject is why are you seeing this stuff? And I know I've talked to people who I've had this happen where you see something and the person next to you doesn't. It's like something's showing it, but everyone can't see it. I've had weird stories like that with people in some situations. Or later, someone saw it with you, and then you talk to them later, and they don't remember a thing. I've had that happen a lot.
Yeah, I haven't had that happen, but the part where like my dad was driving and he didn't see those lights and I did, like it's like how did you not see that? But I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong about that one. Maybe we'll just chalk it up as a loss. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just some weird thing, But like, okay, now this one, okay, because I'm kind of like flipping through my book, and we're only on number 5. This is number 5. Okay, I got 12. I don't know if we have enough time, but I'll try to start speeding it up. Okay. So, like on this particular one, okay, this was in Pickens, South Carolina. It's kind of like a rural town. Okay, it's a suburb of Greenville. It's about 45 minutes to an hour away from Greenville, which is where I live now. And I was outside on the porch again, smoking a cigarette. It was kind of a rainy day. It was drizzling outside, but a little drizzle never stopped me from smoking a cigarette. Okay, I'm quit now. I quit smoking about 3 months ago, but but I was out there on the porch. I was smoking a cigarette, and out of the corner of my eye, like over here in like my peripheral, like where you can't really see, like in that weird area over there, I saw like this orange flicker that just kind of like went and like went straight up. And at first I looked down at my cigarette and I was like, that was a weird ash. I wonder why that ash did that. Like I thought it was like a cigarette ash because it was like almost the same color as a cigarette ash. And And it didn't really make a whole lot of sense anyway, because there was no wind at all. It was just drizzling. Like there was no wind. There was nothing that would have carried that ash up that high. But strange things happen, right? Well, and so I kept on smoking, and I just kept my eyes fixed in that direction where I saw that like flash in my peripheral vision, right? And I was just like kind of looking up, and of course the sky was completely overcast and it was gray and ugly. But once I was like looking up like that in that direction, then the clouds, they lit up like in a row, like they went like that, and they just flashed like in like a flashing motion, and the clouds just lit up, and then it was gone. But I was like, oh, well, that was crazy, you know. And but that was that was, but it wasn't lightning, because, you know, it happened like it was pretty close. Like I feel like the thing was like watching me, kind of like when we were kids, when we saw that silver one. Once we noticed it, then it started to move. It was almost like we were on like alien National Geographic, like they were like watching us. That's what I felt like when we were kids, and that's why it was gone by the time we ran out to the front yard, because it was like, oh man, the humans see us, better get out of here. Because believe it or not, humans are dangerous. I mean, we'll shoot a missile at you, you know? So people are like, well, I don't know why they haven't shown themselves to us yet. It's like, because we are dangerous. I mean, we'll kill you. So don't come here. Okay. So, you know, that's that was that. I mean, that was just a weird one. I probably wouldn't have thought to mention it had it not been for the clouds that lit up in a row like that. About, you know, in like a straight line. It was like it zipped up and then it like blasted off and took off in that direction, you know. Let me see here.
Some of my experiences, it has kind of seemed like something shows it to you on some strange level, like I don't know, call it great spirit or God or whatever. It's kind of like you get, shamans call it seeing, and it's kind of, I'm sure they have other words for it too, but some of mine have felt like that, where you're kind of like shown it by something. I mean, I don't know what it is. I had Dr. Torrey from Coast to Coast or whatever say it was a draconian gold alien that touches me and shows me stuff. Maybe he's right, maybe he's not. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't put it past it that they might communicate with some people, you know. I mean, hey, you know, if they can, you know, they've never, to the best of my knowledge, they never communicated with me. Okay. I've just seen them, you know, but they seem to have, like, at some points have reacted to me. Like there have been times where like they've flown over top of me. Like if it was a car, it would have ran me over, you know, like if it was a car on the ground, I would be dead, you know. So it's like,
learned is they like it when you do stuff like this and talk about it. It's raising consciousness. At one point when I was doing this, I had trouble getting interviews, and I said a prayer, and then I had some strange firefly type UFOs, red weird ones, that I screamed, and my brother and nephew came out here in Florida and saw them as well. And eventually I went on some MUFON radio show and talked about it. And then after that, I started doing the show and everything. Or it was right at that time I was doing the show, or starting to do it on some kind of level. But I was having trouble getting interviews, and I said a prayer, and I had that sightings. And then next thing you know, I'm on the phone with Stanton Friedman, nuclear physicist, doing an interview. Nick Pope, X-Files dude of Britain, they call him, or something. All these people, Lloyd Pye of the Star Child skull. It's like I attracted it. Like there was some kind of weird, like they helped on some level. It felt like, you know, like an alien ET help to get guests. It was weird. So there's something to raising consciousness. So I know there's positive ones, and I think, like with anything, there's probably, you know, a-hole ones.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot to talk about, but this next one, this one is probably the most apparent one. Like this one is like, whoa, that is Humans don't make that. Okay. Like I can say with almost 100% certainty, humans don't make this. This is number 7. Okay. And this actually now the number of sightings that I've had have really sped up over the last 3 or 4 years. Like I have seen more in the past 4 years than I have in the entire rest of my life. Okay, so that was 6 before here, or 5 before here. I don't know. Let me see here. Oh yeah, I accidentally skipped one, but anyway, this one is a good one. I was driving. I was a truck driver. I'm a truck driver now. Actually, I drive a dump truck for a trucking company, but I was working at a different trucking company at the time, and I had just finished working a night shift, and the sun had already come up in the morning. It was probably about 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning. Okay, and I got my car. I'm driving home. And just thinking about hopping in the shower and getting in bed, right? And I'm driving down I-85. This is the interstate, okay? So, I mean, I'm talking there are hundreds of cars in front of me and hundreds of cars or thousands of cars behind me, however many go back and forth throughout the day, right? And I mean, it's broad daylight, early morning, and I'm driving, and I see this thing, and it is now. Have you ever seen a picture of one of those white orbs? Okay, it's like a white orb. Okay, well, to the best of my knowledge, it was one of those, but open. Okay, like it was like a sphere that's like this. Okay, and it had like a steel, or like I wouldn't say steel, I don't know what the hell it was, but like a metal frame like in between that was connecting them. And this thing was about the size of a helicopter. Okay, I would say about the size of a helicopter, had no propeller, had no helicopter blades, it had no source of propulsion that I could see, no air carrying it like in that way. And the thing was about 200 or 300 feet maybe above the interstate. Okay, and everybody else around me is just bebopping along like gotta go to work, 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 work. Like nobody's slowing down, nobody's like swerving, they're not doing anything. It's like they don't see this thing. And it was low. Okay, it was pretty low to the ground. It was near an overpass. There was a guy that was on the overpass that was video cameraing it. His video recording it. Okay, if that guy hears this, I want to talk to him. Okay, but and this thing was hovering, and it was moving pretty erratically. It wasn't moving like super fast. Like it was moving kind of like a helicopter would, like, but like as if it was like, you know, like using a searchlight, and like just like spinning around wildly like this. And the thing that really got me was the thing had like a laser coming out of it. Okay, and it was like, the best way I can describe it is it was like Mace Windu's lightsaber. Like it was like super purple, and it had an end. Like it was like light is not supposed to stop, but this purple ray was coming out the side of it, and it was like pointing at all these different cars that were like near it. Like it was like moving very frantically. Like it was like, oh my God, the humans are here. We're too low. Put up the defenses. Like, I mean, it was like it was freaking out. Okay. And then it shined that thing at me. And this is the only time that I ever felt actually physically affected by one of these things. Okay. Like it was like looking at like a welder flash, or like at an arc, like a welding arc. You know, like it was like if you ever looked at the sun for a little bit, and like you can like when you blink, you can like still see like the spots in your eyes when you close your eyes.
Yes,
and
I've had weird stuff with that for sure.
and every time that I closed my eyes for longer than a blink, like it was almost like I could like see these weird like veins, or I can't even explain it, behind my eyes, and I felt nauseous, like I needed to throw up for about 3 or 4 hours after this. And but it was shining it at pointing it at all the different cars. It pointed it at me, then it pointed it back at other cars and stuff like that. And then the thing like took up, like went up, and then was just kind of like spinning around over there. And then by that time I had already passed it. It was out of my view. I couldn't see it anymore. But like my eyes were like messed up, and I was like, that's probably the closest I've ever felt to being like physically attacked by one of these things. Like if you wanted to be like, yeah, I don't know, like it maybe there was something in there flying it. Maybe it was a completely like our AI type of being, you know. Like, have you ever played Mass Effect? Like the Geth, they're completely robot. You know,
I can tell you, one time I had some pyramid craft over some power lines, and I saw them with a friend, and this light came out of them that was circular. It was kind of golden. It came out of it and towards us, and later he didn't remember it. So that's one of those situations where, like, did they get me, and whatever, probe me or whatever. But I don't know. But I saw this light come out of it, and it was floating. And another time I was in Barnesville, Georgia, hanging out with some mean motor scooter redneck dudes. And we were driving around the trails and partying and out there in the sticks and in their trucks or whatever, and there was one of these circular lights sitting on the ground, almost like what you described, or like the one that came out of the pyramid ones, but this was white. It was just sitting on the ground. It was about medium size, and then it just lifted up and went straight into the air, almost like a star falling backwards is what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's get out. And they said, no, you're crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like with the one that we saw in Ramstein. Like, I'm like, I'm sick and tired of everyone calling me effing crazy, so like we're going out there now. And like and we all went out there, and so we all experienced it, so. But you know what, actually my friends, the ones who I still keep up with, their experience about it is kind of different than mine. So when you said like people remember things differently, well, I mean, that was 15 or 18 years ago. So,
Seems like a probe or something, but maybe it's alive. I don't know, some kind of weird synthetic organism or some craziness.
Yeah, I don't know.
One time, me and some friends, a guy named Chris and his girlfriend Heather, it was sun up. We had been partying. I don't have to go into details, but the sun was coming up, and I saw like glowing, weird sky life that you would think would be in an ocean. It was almost like an amoeba, but in the sky. And we all saw it, and it was weird. It was like an aerial creature, like something you would think would be in the ocean, but it was not. It was in the sky, and it was alive, like golden liquid.
I saw this one thing, and now it could be just like some computer animated mumbo jumbo, okay? But I saw a video one time, and it looked like a diamond, but it was like a prism that was like radiating all this light and like looking weird, and it was almost like transparent, and I was like, that looks so strange. Like, what could be inside of that? Like, and then it made me start thinking, like, what if there are things that are out there that are like born in the vacuum of space, like some kind of weird cosmic space jellyfish or something, is what I was thinking. I was like, I mean, we don't know what's going on out there,
that's
you know.
like
So
what I saw, like that's what it seemed like.
Yeah,
I've seen
a
UFO
cosmic space jellyfish.
like that was like a big giant jellyfish in the sky, and it was supposed to be real. I don't remember what it was from, but I know some of my favorite documentaries. There are some good ones out there that have real good footage in it. Some of them, of course, suck, but a few that I'm about to name too that spring into mind is Dan Aykroyd's UFO Unplugged. That's the actor Dan Aykroyd, and David Sarita's interviewing him, and it's really good. And there's footage. Another one's Curse of the Man Who Sees UFOs, and my friend Cristo Rupolo. That's, I believe, on Netflix, and he gets some crazy good footage. He calls it the holy grail of all footage, and it's really good stuff. And there's even he even has some weird way of doing it in daylight. But that's called
What is it called? What's it called on
Netflix? Curse of the Man Who Sees UFOs. And Christo's a trip. He's like this 60-year-old punk rock dude, and he's just a hoot. But he'll go around like McDonald's. You see the UFOs? You see it like walking around McDonald's and stuff and parking lot or something. He also has the Pirates of the Caribbean dog, the little dog from Pirates, the real dog that was in Pirates of the Caribbean for some reason. But yeah, the Curse of the Man That Sees UFOs. The weirdest story Christo ever told me. I don't know if I'm supposed to tell this. I haven't talked to him in a while, but he pops up on my wall and says, "Hey, dude." And I go, "When's Curse of the Man Who Sees UFOs Part 2 coming out? I need to call him." But one time I called him, and he had just been on the beach with that Tom DeLonge guy from Blink 182, which that guy I don't even really like that band. I don't know Tom, but I know Christo said, and I've heard this, and Tom even admits it. He hangs around like some shady, like government, like creepy people, X-Files, that if you're into UFOs, you probably don't want to hang around. But anyway, he said he was at the beach with those guys, and he was telling Tom, you should be careful hanging around these kind of people. And anyway, Christo said later he found a bug in his car, like they were trying to monitor him or something.
Yeah.
But if you keep up with that Tom DeLonge stuff, he really does start naming off some weird, like CIA shadow entity kind of weird stuff. Like, dude, I don't know if this is the direction you should be going in with this. Like, I don't know if you're doing UFO stuff, great, but I don't know if you should align with military black ops to do it. Maybe, I don't know, but I wouldn't. But like Robert Bigelow. Ugh. But anyway, Chris, that's a really good documentary, Curse of the Man Who Sees UFOs. I hope it's.
I'm going to check it out.
If it's not on Netflix, I bought it, but it was on Netflix. But I don't know if they got rid of it. It's probably still there. But he's got some really good footage. And funny enough, don't turn it off when you hear this story. At the beginning of it, he claims there's a UFO in a cemetery and it makes him crap his pants with a ray it shot at him. And at first, you'll be like, okay, yeah. But he's dead serious. And he claims he saw a UFO and somehow it made him sick. And he, whatever, had a mess or whatever. And it's in there, but don't let that detour you. He's honest and to his best of his ability, he's telling the truth. But when he starts showing the footage, it gets really good. He's got some crazy good footage.
Yeah.
And he like walks around and he calls them jellyfish and like space eggs and weird stuff. Like he names them weird names and stuff in the sky. He's a hoot. I need to call him and check on him.
I remember I saw it was like on it was like a news, like a section of news, like what do they call it? A news section or whatever, news segment, right? Gotcha. And they were interviewing this guy, and he was like this crazy looking guy, and they're like, this guy claims that he can call upon UFOs. And the guy goes outside and he goes, oh, and like does some weird stuff, and the dang thing shows up.
I know. This is so weird because it was an African American gentleman, correct?
Yeah.
I've interviewed him before, and it's funny because just recently, me and Joe, we had a meeting, and we were cutting up about him, and he was definitely fraudulent, so to speak. He had
okay.
With little propellers on them and stuff, and we were laughing about him, and I actually said something about, well, he was kind of a Howard Stern, funny, whatever. But there are serious African Americans who go through this stuff. And I briefly said something like a sentence about Wham and her studies with all that stuff. I didn't go into detail because I don't really know details, but I just said there are serious cases. He's not serious. And we were just talking about him. But it's funny that you mentioned him. He passed away not too long ago. And I was I wasn't like best friends with him or anything, but I'd interviewed him and talked to him, and he was a trip for sure.
I thought it was legit. I was like, man, because a good several of the ones that I've seen have been these orb lights that a lot of people talk about seeing. The ones that are usually like white. They honestly, the way that they look, honestly, they look like the headlight of an airplane. Okay. I mean, like an airplane that's heading your way, except that, they're not moving correctly. They're like airplanes follow, like most of the time, unless they're like in a dogfight or something, they follow a straight line trajectory. It's like they don't really deviate from their path a whole lot. But I mean, like some of these ones that I've seen, they're like, and it's like almost faster than your eyes can see, or it is faster than your eyes can see, because it's like they move so quickly. Like I was
some of the stuff he did, I mean, it was weird, though, but from what I'd heard, actually, I told him about that James Randi $1 Million Challenge, and somehow he went there, but he wouldn't let his guards take the guns away from the guards that were with him, so he didn't do it, and they kicked him out or something crazy. But and he would also say kooky stuff like the black aliens are coming to kill Whitey and stuff like that. Like, so he would say weird stuff too, which he wouldn't say on the news, I'm sure, but he said it to me, and there's other weird stuff he said. But somehow I found out he passed away. I called his family and checked on him, and they said it was true and all that. It was a while ago. But yeah, who's that guy? There's another dude, Riley Martin or something.
Yeah, I was just looking at Riley Martin. Yeah, he died too, actually. He died in 2015. But he never claimed that he could just call them.
He may have been more legit than Prophet Yahweh, probably.
Yeah, he was an interesting guy. He was what Howard Stern called his whack pack. The people that he would have on, just I think to mostly make fun of them. But
yeah, that's true, unfortunately. But I used to listen to Stern a lot. They used to broadcast here, but I haven't listened to it a very long time. But Christians ran it, however they did it here out of town.
Oh, he's on Sirius XM now, right? Is he still doing it on Sirius?
I think so. Yeah. This was a long time ago.
Okay, yeah.
On like normal radio here in Florida, they got rid of it somehow. But yeah, he's on Sirius. I haven't listened to it in a real long time. Yeah. Are you still keeping up with African American cases? Is that something?
Kind of. I mean, there's been a couple things that's been published. Tim Beckley, or whatever his name is, he just recently published something which is kind of his version. People are sort of getting into it now because it's the new thing to do. So yeah, I mean, I'm still in. I mean, most of the stuff that I'm working on right now, where I'm working with UFO things, is more in indigenous populations than African American populations at the moment. But that's just because of who my present contacts are.
But you're saying
there has been interest. It's been weird, It's like I wrote my dissertation literally over 20 years ago that deals with this, and just in the last year, I've probably gotten more attention for it and more interviews about that topic than at any time in my life. So it's really weird.
I was just wondering what the Timothy Beckley thing was called. Is it something silly?
Oh, it's called. I just looked it up. It's called. Of course, he's always calling. He's always over the top. It's called something like The Comprehensive Guide to African American Alien Experiences or something. And I mean, he's done some research, but it's not like there's an analysis of it all. It's like, I mean, it is saying some important things like little known facts, like one of the original witnesses of the Flatwoods Monster, if you remember the Flatwoods Monster, one of the original witnesses of the Flatwoods Monster was an African-American woman, which probably a lot of people don't know. I mean, whether that's significant or not, because maybe she saw something differently than other people saw, I don't know. You know, it's like, sometimes it's relevant, sometimes it's not. You know what I mean? So I've only seen excerpts from the book. I'm not really in the mood to like start. I'm trying to like jettison books out of my house right now and not bring too many books into my house right at the moment. So I haven't purchased the book yet. And then I just saw that there was another book. I think Stephanie Quick posted about both of them, or they were both posted on Greg Bishop's Facebook page. And and she was pointing them out to me. So I can't remember the title of the second one, but yeah, this is a bandwagon everybody's getting on now. So.
That's a trip for sure. I'll have to look.
Which is fine. It's fine. I consider it more ironic than anything else, but it's fine.
Yeah. I was just curious what Tim's book. I figured it'd been something crazy.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's called something like the Comprehensive Guide. Like if someone's looking for a guide, the Comprehensive Guide, because that's the kind of thing that he does. You know, he finds the next thing that he can compile to sell, and then he puts it together to sell.
He used to send me like a bunch of books at one time. They're always like really weird, but it was cool. Like UFO sightings from hell or something weird, like some book about hell and UFOs. Like a really weird book. But yeah, something about hell and UFOs from hell or something like that. But one thing, Mike, what were you saying about some kind of possible being sighting? When there's something
well, you know, this starts going into the paranormal stuff. Okay, now a majority of the things that I experienced were or happened in Florida, or I don't know why I said Florida. Happened in Germany when I was stationed there, and now this didn't happen. Okay. Like right when I got there, like I moved into my dorm room. I'd been living there for like a year or more, you know, before anything weird happened. But I believe that things started getting weird when I, after that UFO sighting over the base. But I can't say for sure. But when there was this one night, okay, I was asleep, or okay, in our dorm rooms, we had these things. They're called Roladins, okay, and you can roll them down, and it can be high noon outside, and it'll be so dark inside your room that you can't see your hand in front of your face. Yes. If all your lights are out. I mean, it's just like, because we had night shift guys, we had day shift guys, you know, so it was a 24-hour cycle. So the guys who slept during the day, they had it so that they could sleep without having light in their eyes all the time, right? So we had these Roladins. Well, okay. So it was one night I was getting ready to go to sleep. Okay. And I shut my lights off and I jumped in bed in my bunk and I was just laying on my back. Okay. And I was just like staring up at the ceiling and I see this thing. Okay. And it was like, it looked like smoke almost, like, but it was like, okay, picture it being as black, so black in the room that you can't even see your hand in front of your face. And whatever this thing was way darker than that. Okay, I'm talking like infinitely darker than whatever black that was. The darkness of the room, and it was like swirling and stuff, and like and I could see something strange inside of it. It was like a red dot or something, and I was like, man, that doesn't make any sense, but my stupid eyes are playing tricks on me or something. And I went to roll over onto my side. Okay. And as I rolled, this thing shot across the room, like just like went like that. And it left like a red streak behind it as it moved across the room. And I like was like shocked. Like I like went back onto my back and I just froze like every hair on my body was like standing straight up. You know what I mean? And I like was like paralyzed with fear, I guess. And then the blanket that was on top of me folded over on top of my chest like this, and I jumped out of bed as fast as I could. And that was the last time that I ever slept in that dorm room without a light on. Okay. Like I always had like a lamp on or a kitchen light or something on, because I was like, I can't see what's going on in here. And I don't like that. But with the paranormal stuff, you see, I started thinking about it and I was like, maybe there is a correlation, because I've heard of other people who have had UFO sightings and stuff like that, but then other things started happening to them, like they'd go home and like things would be like all piled up in the kitchen or something like that. Like, who did that? Like, there were times I would get home from work. There was a time I got home from work and every counter and cabinet, medicine cabinet, everything that could be open, every drawer that could be open was wide open as far as the hinges would allow. And I was like, now this doesn't make any sense, okay? Because the supervisors or the higher ups, they did have access to our bedrooms, to our dorm rooms, okay? Like they could go in there and search whatever they wanted if they wanted to. But I'm guessing that if they did go in there, they wouldn't open every drawer and every cabinet and every dresser drawer as far open as they could and just leave it that way, would they? So that was another thing.
And in black.
I don't know, man. I mean, but it started getting really bad. Like every day something else would happen. Like I would hear things falling over, or weird stuff like that. And at first, because like I went from being like a normal like guy, like how I'm talking to you now, like with all my friends and stuff like that, because we all lived in the same dorm building. We'd just go knock on each other's doors. We'd have some beers. We'd talk, whatever. I went from being like the happy-go-lucky guy that I normally am to being a person who was like afraid. Like my friend Charlie, the one who I saw, one of the guys who we saw the UFO with, he was getting ready to move out of the dorms because he got married. Okay. To his ex-wife Amy, and it was pretty common practice that when you're moving, like you got to cut some of the weight, like some of the things you don't want anymore, like oh hey man, here, take this. You want a chessboard or something? I don't know. Yeah, I'll take it. Hey, sure, why not? And my friend, one of our friends gave a Ouija board to my friend Charlie. Okay. And when my friend Charlie was moving out, he gave the Ouija board to me. Now, I didn't believe in this stuff at the time because, like this was actually one of the inciting incidents, okay, that I believe like started this. And he gave me this Ouija board. It didn't even have the little triangle thing with the eyeglass on it to like look at the words. I was just like, oh, cool. I'll put it on my wall. And So I did. And it was either that night or the next night or the night after that, I proceeded to have the worst nightmare of my entire life. Like, I've never had anything like it before and never had one since. But I was myself in the first person, and I was looking at myself, like another me, in the third person, who was just doing all kinds of bad stuff. I can't remember what, but it was like my responsibility to stop him. Okay. Like, okay, you have to stop him. And then I would look down at my hand. I looked down at my hand and I had a butcher knife in my hand. And I walked up to the other me and I just started stabbing him in the chest again and again and again and again. And he fell over and he died. The other me fell over and died. And then I looked down at my chest and my chest is full of holes. And I fell over and I died in my dream. And then the nightmare just like went like it just I had no more control. Like I had control then, but then everything after that was just cyclical and it just happened again and again. And I was just there for the ride. Like it just like killed myself, died. And by the time I woke up, I was like frozen. Like I feel like if my heart was weaker, I would have died in my sleep. And because that's what they say. They say like if you die in your sleep, like you're supposed to die in real life. I think I could have, but I didn't. And I couldn't get warm. Like, and this was in the middle of the summer, okay? And we didn't have air conditioning. All we had were these crappy fans in our dorm rooms. And it was like one of the hottest summers on record in Germany. And I woke up frozen, like in shock. And I ran and I jumped into the shower and I couldn't get warm. I spent like half an hour in the shower and I finally warmed up and I was finally okay. And I got out, I got dressed. I ran down to my friend Charlie's room. I said, Charlie, I banged on his door and he opened the door. He's like, what's up, man? I said, we're burning this Ouija board. And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, man. Like, I think the Ouija board's bad. I want to burn it. And he's like, all right, let's do it. So we took it out to the grill. Like we had an outdoor grill and I like brought my Zippo lighter and some lighter fluid and we lit it up. I mean, it wouldn't light at first. Like it just, all the lighter fluid kept burning away and the board was like unscathed. But finally we managed to get it to burn. And this thing burned like something I'd never seen before. Like it was like shooting like fire in like all these crazy different directions. Like,
Well, hey, Mike, I got to start closing out, but it's been really great. We'll have to get you on again for the rest of your golden oldies. But you have a good radio voice, and I definitely enjoyed it a whole lot. Thanks so much. And your book is Passenger. His name's Mike. Let me spell the last name, Feria. And that's on Amazon, and the book's Passenger. So go there and wish list it and keep an eye out on his next book about sci-fi fantasy situation. So it's been really great. We appreciate it. And if anything else happens from the show or anything, I'm kind of curious about the raising consciousness thing. Definitely let me know, and we'll definitely get you on again to talk some more. I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. My voice is like, my voice is going out. I've been talking so much.
I'm always drinking.
Yeah.
I got to die. Do you get a chance to see Resident Alien on Sci-Fi? I'm about to watch the next episode, but it's hilarious. It's basically a gray alien, Alan Tudyk. It's great, but it's funny. It's called Resident Alien, but it's dark and it'll surprise you because the whole time he wants to exterminate humanity, but then he's starting to like him a little, but he's still there to exterminate humanity.
Yeah,
so, it's good.
That sounds fun. That sounds like it's kind of up my alley. I'll watch it.
It is. It's kind of like Destroy All Humans. I don't know if you ever saw that game.
Oh yeah, I played it, dude. That was one of my favorites. I was like, oh man.
Jack Nicholson alien, here to probe, yeah. But I love those. But thanks so much. Thanks, Wham. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
And we'll definitely get you back on sometime, Mike. Thanks so much, and have a good weekend.
Thank you. You guys have yourselves a good rest of your weekend.
You too. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
I got to figure out how to stop this weird thing. This is a weird new thing. I guess I'll just wait for Joe or just leave. I don't know what to do, but y'all can leave.
Yeah, Mike and I can leave the studio whenever, just down here.
All right. Take care, guys. Thank you.
All right, take
Sure.
care.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Joe, don't be a
by the way, just for you, we're still live, but by the way, with that it's called something like oh God, that Beckley book is called, hold on just a second.
Jive Turkey UFO sightings. I'm just kidding.
Hold on just a second.
No,
it's called Alien Lives Matter. It's okay to be gray.
Fudge.
Well, you know, that's the kind of crap that he. I mean, it looks like from what I can see of it, it looks like it's got some like real interesting cases in it. But you know how he does that? He just sort of.
How is he still alive?
I don't know. Well, you know, I guess he just figures out how to keep going. You know, I mean, it's like if you've been doing this for your entire life.
He had heart stuff too, a lot of stuff.
He's
always been nice to me and sent me stuff. So I don't say.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I just find the way he puts things together to be funny. I mean, I haven't
spoke to him in a while.
His book on the Men in Black was the first book on the Men in Black I ever got. And then I realized there were better books, but at least, you know, I think he sort of appeals to the introductory kind of crowd.
Yeah, he's a trap for sure.
Here's Joe.
Yeah, for sure. He's a trap. No doubt about it. I had some weird Nazi guys saying I'm a Zionist agent from before it's news, and they're passing around this thing with my name, and all these other people saying I'm a Zionist